let's move on to our second building block in our business model, and this is called the value proposition. And the value proposition describes the product or service that is delivered to fulfill the customer segment. So we might have multiple or single value propositions. So there are three reasons why a value proposition may come into be. So we can just look at each of these three quickly. The first one is based on newness. And what I mean by newness is the market has dictated that a new value proposition such as a cell phone, when these were introduced in the heady days of Wall Street and Michael Douglas, into the larger telecom market. So at that stage, the value proposition was take phones mobile. It was a small part of the market, and then over time, as we all know, cell phones have grown as a portion of the telecom market. So that was a new value proposition being added to an existing market. The second one is based on performance. And if we look at Intel, for example, the chip inside, and I can't do that little sound they've got on their adverts, but every year or so, Intel doubles the speed of its chip, and so on and so forth, and the performance of our computers gets faster. So I can do presentations like this, and you can watch nice videos online. And the final one, value proposition, is based on customization. And if you've been to the Nike website, maybe you've seen something called Nike ID, and they launched a product offering that's very cool. It lets me go online and design my very own shoe, sports shoe. So I can have it colored red, I could add a yellow swoosh to it if I wanted, I can pick whatever design I want. So that's an example of the value proposition to be being the ability to customize. So if we the next way to look at value propositions is to decide and evaluate what they are based on. And value propositions can be based on a number of criteria. First one I want to look at is we'll call it getting the job done. So this is a product or service whose value is based around getting the job done. So Rolls-Royce would be a good example of this, and I'm not talking about the cars the company makes, but I'm talking about the jet engines that they manufacture for customers like Boeing. Now, not only do they manufacture these engines, but they also service them and finance them through leasing. So they basically do the whole shebang, which avoids the owner of the plane having to purchase its own jet engines, and for this it pays a premium. The second type of value proposition, I'm actually going to kind of cluster these two together. First one is based on the strength of its design. So many of the clothing labels, their value proposition from, sort of like, Prada, you can go and buy a Prada t-shirt and you end up paying $200, which is a lot of money, but to some people they want to buy the name. Same thing, I don't know, in the skateboard industry, where the cool kids will be wearing the cool cap. And they're basically buying it just because of the name. Now, kind of going hand in hand with this one, as a hand, we have the value proposition based on brand or like status. And in some ways it's similar to the design one. But An example of this would be, I just wear a watch because I love the name, and when I wear that watch, it makes everyone think I have lots of money, and it gets me status. Even though the cost of that watch, which I don't know how much a Rolex watch is, whether what are they, like 20 grand or whatever, goes far beyond it just telling the time. So one of the ones, value propositions that probably springs to mind first to you is one based on price. This is, very simple one. Company comes to market and it creates a product or service that is cheaper than someone else. So some of the let's use an airline analogy again. Some of the airline, new types of airlines that sprung up, like Southwest. We've got Ryanair. We had ValueJet before it was renamed as AirTran, and basically what they brought to the market was a very cheap way to fly. So you could go from Dallas to Houston for $60. It's almost like catching a Greyhound bus. And so their complete value proposition was based on doing it cheaper than the other airlines. Cost reduction is another proposition that can be offered to a customer. It provides a reason for purchasing the product or service. Technology has really been driving costs down in a lot of areas, especially with some of the web services like Salesforce.com, for example. So Salesforce.com, first company to really put the customer relationship management software in the cloud. And now you pay just an annual fee. They say you can pay a monthly, but it never actually is something you can do. But anyway, that's another thing. So you pay a monthly fee, say $300 per user. And for that, they host the software, they run all the servers, and they take all the hassle out of having to run a software product. And that represented a very big cost reduction in comparison to having to do it yourself and host and buy all of your own equipment. So just three more then. Risk reduction can be the basis of a value proposition. And as soon as you say risk, you probably think of the insurance industry. And so when you come to, you've probably seen these adverts on, almost infomercial type adverts, when you come to buy a car for an extra $2,000, you can get a warranty. So what these guys are actually selling is really, peace of mind and the ability to mitigate the risk that my car breaks down and I don't want to have to pay a very high car bill. Final two, accessibility is one of them. And what I mean by accessibility, that is when a value proposition makes a product or service accessible to a group of consumers or